Hi, my name is McKay. Here is my ID, and I did a project that I call Bedside Shift Report Done Better. Um, my presentation will go as follows. I'll kind of introduce the project, um, how I found, the opportunity on my unit. I'll go into details about the benefits of the project for the unit, the ICU, and myself, as well as the criteria that I use for my preceptor. We'll talk about the goals that I have for my project. Um, then practicum environment, scheduling issues, and then other difficulties that I faced, as well as preceptor involvement in my project. Then we'll go over, the conclusion of the project, the evaluation of whether or not I achieved my goals, the benefits to the unit and myself, and I'll do a self-evaluation of my leadership skills. And then we'll conclude with a project summary and how this project will influence my future practice as a nurse. So, I noticed that bedside shift report was very much lacking on my unit. Um, it would occur rarely, if at all. And my project was aimed at trying to figure out how we can make that part of the day um, more streamlined and more efficient. And my goal in doing this was to focus on important points, protect patient privacy, and encourage patient and staff participation in bedside shift report. Um, so, doing research on bedside shift report, evidence shows that it creates an environment of safety. The oncoming nurse is putting eyes on that patient early and is able to identify safety risks or drips that might run dry or issues that are going on with equipment or patient concerns. If the patient's trying to get up out of bed, if they need to have the bed alarm or try to get a sitter for the shift. And it gives patients and nurses a chance to communicate with one another, and it sets the nurse up for success. But it is widely seen as a chore, not just at my unit, but kind of in general. Particularly on med surg units where you have 6 patients, this may or may not be possible to do. But on an ICU floor where you have 1 to 3 patients, it's very much possible to briefly do report with the nurse at the nurse's station and then go visit the patient. So my checklist included, brief bullet points. You know, are your drips doing okay? Is your equipment doing okay? Is your patient doing okay? And then, get out of the room as fast as you can so you can get ready for your day and take care of all the other things you need to do, because bedside shift report is seen as kind of a slowdown or a just another box to check that a busy nurse has to take care of. So by making it quick yet effective, that was really the goal. Um, Benefits to the unit. Evidence shows that a bedside shift report increases patient safety. Patients feel more involved, and therefore their satisfaction scores go up, their needs are addressed, and then they therefore have better outcomes. And with this increases nurse satisfaction. There are fewer issues with the shift because needs are met early in the shift, and nurses have a better opportunity to interact with their patients and understand their needs. The benefits to myself, I would have opportunities to collaborate with administration and with my bedside nurses to develop my leadership skills as well as to implement this project. Um, and frankly, it's a simple project. It's a simple change that would create an easy yet powerful change for the unit. Um, so it provided me with a lot of opportunities for growth. Um, the goals of my project, my practicum, were to improve patient outcomes with the facilitation of bedside shift report via a checklist, to elevate my colleagues' satisfaction by improving shift readiness and overall communication with their patients. And also, part of this project, I wanted opportunities for leadership and communication with both administration as well as my colleagues. So, kind of the steps of my project involved the evidence based research, the importance of bedside shift report, how nurses feel about it, kind of what their concerns about doing bedside shift report are, and how to alleviate those concerns, and what are the best ways to adapt bedside shift report in order to have successful and consistent implementation. Um, the project also involved collaboration and feedback from my mentor, my preceptor, um, working with administration, implementation during staff meeting, and an initial survey trying to understand where my fellow colleagues were coming from, and then ongoing, supportive implementation, feedback from the bedside nurses, working with the charge nurses to hammer home implementation of the checklist. Um, Also, patients were interviewed by, they are already interviewed daily by administration and nurse leaders. And that interview, as part of that interview, these people included questions to the patient about, were you involved in bedside shift report? Does this seem to help you understand your plan of care? And then lastly, we did a final survey and a review of outcomes from hospital statistics, as well as those interviews that were done with patients. So, in choosing a preceptor, I was looking for somebody who obviously was knowledgeable about nursing in general, somebody that I trusted and could put, stock in their ideas, somebody who had practical experience on the floor, working with patients and working with other nurses, and somebody who I felt of as a leader, somebody that I could trust. And that person to me was a friend named Shelley. She is a very smart nurse and provided me with a lot of opportunities for learning throughout this project. So, the practicum environment was in the ICU setting, with seasoned nurses that I thought would be more hesitant or reluctant to be adaptable and change kind of how they do things, but that was not an issue that I found at all. I found a lot of collaboration with my colleagues. Um, Adjustments to my schedule. Our staff meeting where I hoped to implement things ended up being late in the month, so I kind of had to speed everything up a little bit in terms of, preparing materials and, meeting with administration and with nurse leaders and charge nurses, and then the bedside nurses, in order to get things going quickly so that I could get statistics and results more quickly as well. Probably the biggest difficulty that I faced during this project was trying to balance day and night shift. I work nights, so it was a challenge for me to meet with the day shifters, and also just meeting with administration. Obviously, they work during the day, so that was kind of a challenge as well, trying to um, make those adjustments. But ultimately, I found a lot of collaboration with my colleagues, and everything did go fairly smoothly. One other difficulty that I didn't note here on the PowerPoint was that trying to get statistics from the hospital specifically geared towards what I was trying to evaluate was fairly difficult. So I had to use a lot of subjective data from these interviews that I had from nurse leaders. And then preceptor collaborations. So I worked with her a lot at the beginning in identifying how to improve the project, how to make the implementation more successful, and how to make it more streamlined and more approachable for nurses. And then she helped me a lot in terms of, how do I go about speaking with administration? How do I go about trying to get support from my bedside nurses, and ultimately leading by example, and doing my own bedside reports when I was taking shifts over and working with patients was one of the bigger ways that I was able to have success. So, goals that were achieved. So, patient outcomes were subjectively improved. I did not have time to evaluate overall hospital data that would reflect that. But in patient interviews, patient satisfaction did go up. Um, in the beginning and ending surveys, there was quite a leap in nurse satisfaction um, as a result of implementing bedside shift report. And obviously, I did achieve many opportunities for leadership and communication. Um, it did provide a benefit to my unit. Patient and nurse satisfaction scores both went up, and there was a perceived improved environment on the floor for having safer patients and patients that felt like they were being communicated with and involved in their care. Benefits to myself, I feel like I improved in terms of my communication skills and leadership opportunities, and I achieved difficult but attainable goals that I created. So that is quite a boost in confidence, and it creates a larger window of opportunity for me to want to be a leader in the future. Um, in terms of my self evaluation as a leader, I'm quite proud of myself for what I did. I feel like I brought my unit together and we achieved a goal together. And I learned very quickly that leadership is done by example, and talking somebody's ear off about another chore that they have to do is not the way to be a leader. That leading by example, by doing bedside shift report on my own, by stepping up and doing the hard things is how leadership truly is successful. So in summary, I created an efficient and streamlined bedside shift report checklist that facilitated nurse implementation of bedside shift report. Um, I worked with administration and bedside nurses in order to implement this, and I constantly sought feedback and improvements from many sources, including administration, bedside nurses, patients, and my preceptor. This will affect my future practice in that I have much more confidence in my communication and my overall leadership skills. I grew to understand more the importance of collaboration in terms of successfully achieving these projects and things of you know a higher magnitude than just myself. I found that feedback is necessary in order to have success in a project. That I don't know everything, and trying to get things done by myself and how I initially think that they should be done is not the best way of doing things, but that by being open to feedback and implementing that feedback is how success is achieved. And then, as I spoke before, leading by example is key in order to earn the trust and interest of people that are being led. And that is my project and my presentation. Thank you very much.